President Obama is in Cuba right now. The Cuban president made a surprising showing, and the Black Bears are being forced to adapt to changing conditions. I'm Kennerly Benrati.
And I'm Anthony Anderson. These are tonight's top stories.
Live on Crete Channel 21, this is DCTV News.
Cuba's Minister of Foreign Trade and Investment is calling on U.S. President Barack Obama to extend measures easing the U.S. embargo. The Obama administration recently announced it was making it easier for U.S. companies to do business with Cuba's private sector and also telecommunications concerns. But the Foreign Trade Minister, Rodrigo Malamierca, notes that state-run enterprises still control most of the Cuban economy. President Obama and Cuban President Raul Castro met today in Havana to discuss the issue, among others.
Cubans are shocked at seeing President Raul Castro answer questions from reporters. Apparently, it's a rare occurrence that was broadcast live on state TV, where he stood alongside President Barack Obama and faced interviews after their meeting today in Havana. Cubans took particular note of the questions put to Castro about human rights and political prisoners. One man says, "It's very significant to hear Castro say that not all human rights are respected in Cuba." After taking a handful of questions, Castro ended the news conference quickly saying, "I think this is enough."
During the White House visit to Cuba, Secretary of State John Kerry plans to meet with Colombia's largest rebel group. He wants to check the progress to end Colombia's half-century conflict. This meeting with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, labeled a terrorist organization by the U.S. government, is scheduled to take place Monday.
The Iditarod Trail sled dog race has officially ended. Mary Hellwig, a 32-year-old rookie from Willow, Alaska, was the last musher to reach Nome. She arrived just before midnight with 11 dogs in harness and the Red Lantern. She finished the nearly 1,000-mile race across Alaska in 13 days, 8 hours, 51 minutes, and 30 seconds, while the winner of the race took it in just 8 days, 11 hours, 20 minutes, and 16 seconds, making it Dallas CV's 4th yearly win.
Speaking of the cold, as more people move into the mountains in Colorado, more bears are left to find food from non-traditional means. Durango, Colorado researchers have taken on a project to determine how this new diet affects the big, not-so-cuddly animals. They found that black bears that eat human foods from trash cans can have higher reproductive rates than those living on natural foods. But the researchers also found bears that eat human food don't survive as long as those left to the wild. The bears have been fitted with collars that track their location, helping researchers determine how the animals behave.
Well, the weather has been pretty confusing, Ryan. You know, one day it's hot, one day it's cold, one day my shirt's on, one day it's off. What is going on?
That's just a problem you're going to have to deal with. We're going to have a little bit of sunshine here, and then it can be a little rainy, and then we're going to have some snow. So sure, it's going to be on and off like crazy. We'll have that and the rest of the forecast when we come back. All right, we had a fairly spring day, I guess. You could say it started off really cold and then warmed up a little bit, and it was about 66 degrees. We had a low of about 46, fair and breezy. And this is what is happening right now in the current forecast. It's basically just some clouds moving across. Not much has happened. It was a nice day today. So that's all we have really going on right now. If we look forward into the future, through just normal future stuff called a forecast modulator. You got some snow, which is the blue, and green, which is the rain. And so the weather's not going to be so nice and dandy, which is not nice and dandy. We're going to get some rain and snow, and it's going to be like that for a while, and it's awful and dreadful. So hooray. Let's go and look forward to that awful forecast. It's Tuesday. Tomorrow it's fantastic. Awesome. And Wednesday is when it starts to be terrible and awful and nobody's going to go outside. We're going to have some thunderstorms in the morning, and it's just going to keep raining throughout the afternoon. And then into Wednesday night, snow's going to start coming down. On Thursday, it's just going to keep, the snow starts. And then Friday, the precipitation stops, but it's still going to be kind of cold and windy. And then headed into the weekend, more snow. And, that's just kind of what's going to be going on and that stuff. It's snowing.
Wow. I thought spring was here. Apparently somebody lied.
I know. It's all the weather people's fault.
No, I'm gonna have to put a shirt on.
Well, if you want to.
Yeah. Would you rather have a substitute teacher or a self-work day? Well, one Omaha school district is considering cutting its number of substitute teachers and instead having students do just that. Westside High School estimates it could save $75,000 next year if they cut subs and let the teacher decide if the students could just work independently on their classwork. The plan hasn't been approved yet, but it came from Minnesota schools where it is already in use.
Do you remember when Dana College was a thriving little school in Blair? Well, the community had their hopes up that it would become one again, but it looks like their dreams are down the drain again. Midland University, which has been raising money to use on the Dana campus, has dropped its plans to reopen the former Dana College campus in Blair. The university announced Friday that it will focus on improvements in its Fremont campus and on finding a permanent home for MBA, other graduate and non-traditional programs in Omaha.
While some students spend their spring break on the beach, 13 students will be spending theirs in Uganda, Africa. A business in Uganda that converts straws into bags, mats, and other jewelry will get some help from engineering and business majors from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. They will be helping the Kiniwataka Women Initiatives Organization with a business plan and implementation of a new machine that will automate the process of flattening straws. The group left this past Saturday and will return this Sunday.
Oh, is it me? It sucks. Doane Senior Media is asking students to join the conversation about political issues in the world. To help aid this conversation, it is time for DC TV's segment where two students debate political issues from a Republican or Democratic point of view. Tonight's issue is on immigration, and we welcome back sophomore Anna Bowerly for the conservative perspective and senior Joe Couch for the liberal perspective. Thank you for joining us here today. Joe, we'll start with you. But Anna, just feel free to rebuttal whenever you feel like Joe is done. Okay, here's the first question. Is illegal immigration an economic burden to America?
No.
Why do you say that?
What illegal immigration yes, it is a burden, but just about as much of a burden as any other problem that we have. But of these problems, a lot of them, on the other side, contribute a lot of good things as well. I mean, you could say that the military is a burden on us too with how much money they cost us, but you also have received plenty of benefits from them. With immigration, you also get a ton of people coming in trying to contribute to our GDP and becoming valuable citizens of the United States eventually. The problem with it is that it's illegal and it's hard for them to do it the right way. That's the only way it's a burden on us.
I would agree with actually a lot of what Joe said. There are some benefits that illegal immigrants bring to us. The burden, however, I think lies in the form that they're just unexpected. And while there might not be economic burdens, which there are some, but I don't know the specifics, they're putting burdens on our schools, like when we don't have enough teachers that speak Spanish or whatever language they speak, they aren't able to teach them effectively, and when we don't have enough space in them for ELL classrooms, I think that can be a really big burden on schools. So not an economic burden, but there are still some burdens there.
Okay, Anna, do you think immigrants in the United States illegally have constitutional rights and protections when on American soil?
I absolutely. Everyone should get constitutional rights regardless of whether they're here or not. Even terrorists have some constitutional rights when they're here. I just can't see any reason why they wouldn't have constitutional rights. So
I completely agree. The reason we have the rights that are set forth in our Constitution are because they're human rights. They're not rights for Americans. Everyone deserves a trial and due process, just not based on where they're born.
All right, Joe, should immigrants in the United States illegally have access to social services such as healthcare and public education?
This one's a little tricky, but I think so. A lot of illegal immigrants still pay taxes when they pay sales tax or through their employer if they're doing it, they do it a weird way, I think. I can't go into the details on it. But they're paying arguably less into the tax system for it. But these are services that we want people that are in our country, legally or not, to have. We want our people to be healthy, we want them to be educated. And if they're not getting this health care, then they're going to be more expensive in the long run anyway, taking up services like emergency services through ambulances, and we're going to have to bury them eventually, and it becomes more expensive in the long run not to offer people health care.
Yes, I would agree with that. Healthcare is a good thing. Education is a good thing. Before we address any of those problems, though, we really have to address something about illegal immigration, like fixing the problem. We need to create a way for these people to become citizens of the United States. We need to give them an easier route to become a citizen so we can improve our social services and our healthcare and our education for these people that are coming in. We can't do anything about healthcare until we fix the problem itself.
All right, on to the next question. Anna, does illegal immigration harm American workers? For example, through job displacement or lower wages?
This is a tough question and one that is cause for a lot of debate right now and all the way up through presidential candidates. This is a very tough issue that people are talking about. And I honestly don't even know how I feel about it. Like, part of me says yes in some ways, but in other ways they are doing jobs that a lot of Americans aren't looking to apply for or looking to do. And if they're willing to work in any sort of way, I don't see why there's a problem with that. So I see why people think this, but also I'm not sure I agree with it.
I'm a very strong no on this issue because, first of all, if these low-skilled people are applying for these low-skilled jobs and there's an American with slightly higher skills, of course they're going to get it unless they're not applying for it. Those people aren't getting those jobs for their own fault. But there is plenty of research on this, actually, that these low-skilled workers that are coming in are actually creating jobs because they're freeing up the higher-skilled jobs, the higher-skilled American workers, by doing this sort of pairing. See, when you add a couple farmhands to work with this farmer, that gives him more room to expand his business. If you add a few more construction workers, you have construction site managers that can build bigger and better projects. So they actually help the state of American jobs rather than hurt it.
Can I talk again?
Yes.
The only thing I would say, like, when you have companies like Walt Disney that, and in their company where they replaced their American workers with immigrants that were willing to work for lower wages, I think that's when the problem arises, and we really need to figure out something where Americans aren't being actively replaced by illegal immigrants who will work for lower wages.
Any response?
No, I think that works.
Okay. Joe, should E-Verify, the federal government's electronic employment verification system, be mandatory for all employers?
I actually think E-Verify would solve the issue Anna was just talking about, because that would make Disney enforce the laws that we have that make it so that we employ legal workers. The only problem with E-Verify is it can really strangle smaller businesses or businesses with a high turnover rate for their employees, because the way E-Verify works is when you're hiring an employee, it can take a while for them to verify it, and there are still some glitches. So these companies spend plenty of time and money training these employees just to occasionally have the system tell them, sorry, you can't actually employ them, which is just a really terrible situation for a small business to go through.
I agree. E-Verify is a great idea in theory. Application right now is still a little shaky, and once the application part of E-Verify catches up, it will be a great system.
Anna, what do you think about Trump's wall?
It is no secret that I am not a fan of Donald Trump, and I think his concept of building a wall along our Mexican border is absolutely preposterous. I don't think it would solve anything. It will be an economic burden to us because it's going to cost a lot of money, and despite him saying Mexico's going to pay for it, I just don't see that being feasible in any way, shape, or form. I am very much against Donald Trump and his wall idea.
It would be a blight to the American public.
All right. Lastly, Joe, which candidate do you think has the best solution to this issue, and what is it?
I actually don't think any candidate, okay, well, never mind, best solution out of the set, that works. Both Democratic candidates, I think, have a solution that would work. Really, immigration isn't my top issue, except in the negative when I look at the Republican candidates. Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, both of their immigration policies go off of 3 tenets. That is, a nation is not a nation if it does not have a border. A nation that does not enforce its laws is not a nation. And a nation that does not put its own citizens first is not a nation. Now, each of those independently might sound all right. I mean, except for the first one. A border is sort of iffy. I mean, does Donald Trump want to build a wall between the US and Canada? There are cafes in New Amsterdam where you can sit in Belgium and New Amsterdam and the Netherlands at the same time. A wall does not make a nation. But my issue is with the last one, that puts its own citizens first. Because a huge issue with illegal immigration is that if we had a better pathway to citizenship, we would just have immigration. And it would just bolster the US in citizenship and GDP because we'd be creating all these new jobs and helping all these people. When you say you're going to serve the American people first, it's really something that just sounds nice because I'm an American and I want to be treated first. But what that sounds like to a foreigner is when you get here, you're a second-class citizen, which is not okay in my book. I want people to feel welcome in America.
I think immigration is the topic in which the parties are the most polarized at this point. We have Ted Cruz and Donald Trump very into deporting all 12 million or whatever citizens and building walls, and then we have Bernie and Hillary on the other side that are just, I don't even know exactly what they believe, but they're not really in the middle. John Kasich is kind of, he's way more moderate at this point, but moderate voters, kind of like myself, really don't have anyone that they could really align with on immigration at this point. Marco Rubio had a great plan for immigration, which I actually think turned a lot of Republican voters away from him, but it was actually one of, I thought, his most compelling issues. He didn't want to deport 12 million people. He didn't want to build a wall. He didn't want to grant amnesty, although people thought he did. He wanted to create a pathway to citizenship. His father was an immigrant. He knows how that works. I thought it was really disappointing when he dropped out of that race just on the specific issue of immigration. So.
Well, that does it for the Join the Conversation segment of this week's DCTV. Next week will be the topic of gun control. Back to you, Kenny.
Speaking of joining the conversation, politics isn't just something on the national level. You have the chance to come take part and have your voice heard during the Student Congress debates happening this week and next week. Doane Student Media will be hosting the presidential candidate Rachel Lukowicz and the 2 vice presidential candidates Marcus Manley and Shayna Havenridge tomorrow night in the DCTV studio. Sitting space will be provided, and it is open to the student body, and the presidential debate will start at 7, with the vice presidential debates immediately following. The candidates will be asked questions students want to hear, such as what motivates each candidate to do their position, what else they plan to change, and whether they would reconsider the way the voting is done. If you can't make it to the studio, you can stream it live or view it later on doneline.com. Hey, Clayton, how's your bracket shaping up for March Madness?
You know, Kenny, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I would like to tell you that my bracket is in the 97th percentile right now. So we're doing pretty hot. It's lit. UNC all the way, baby. You heard it here first. We'll have more sports action when DCTV continues.
Doane athletes don't just show a strong performance in their sport, but also in the classroom. 6 women basketball players were named scholar athletes within the NAIA. For having above a 3.5 GPA of junior or senior standing, dance also had 4 women on the list for this accomplishment, as well as 1 men's basketball player. Spring athletes will face the same opportunity for their sport when their seasons finish. Men's baseball is off the bases, splitting the wins during their opening doubleheader this past weekend. Freshman Evan Jermanski hit 2 home runs, while junior Tyler Wilson hit a single to left field, bringing in the game-winning run for the second game. The men take the home field again this Friday and Saturday against St. Xavier University. Senior Adam Toohey was chosen the GPAC Baseball Player of the Week last week. Toohey from Santan Valley, Arizona, had multiple hit games throughout the start of the season and posted a .619 batting average as a center fielder. Toohey threw out a runner on the bases and had 9 putouts in the first few games. Doane Baseball has a 13-9 overall win versus losses for the 2016 spring season. After winning indoor GPAC track and field, many track athletes went on to win NAIA national championships over spring break. Senior Kevin Murphy won long jump with a jump just over 24 feet, while freshman Paige Herbert won the title for the National Field Athlete of the Year. Herbert also won the National Indoor Pentathlon, setting quite a precedent for the next 3 years she has left at Doane. Outdoor season starts April 2nd at Hastings College. A University of Akron football player has been shot in the stomach after entering a former teammate's apartment unannounced and mistaken for a burglar. Akron police say Andrew Pratt is in the hospital and is expected to recover. Authorities say they won't file charges because both men agreed it was an accident. That does it here for sports. Anna, how are the celebrities jumping into spring?
In style, of course, voting for the hottest male actor, March Madness on your phone, and Meghan Trainor back in the spotlight. It looks like it's going to be a great spring in the entertainment world. I'll have those stories and more when Doane Weekly continues. Basketball not your thing? That's okay. You can still compete in March Madness, but on a much more entertaining way than watching sweaty men on a court. You can instead vote on hot actors in the E! News game Alpha Male Madness. The competition is between only male actors currently starring in a TV show, and they range from the scarred men of The Walking Dead to the dramatic men of Once Upon a Time. We are in the final 4 currently, and it's between Sam Hagen from Outlander, Colin O'Donoghue from Once Upon a Time, Bob Morley from The 100, and Stephen Amell from Arrow. If I vote Bob Morley, do you think I could go to Vegas and take all the money people lost from Michigan State losing? Wishful thinking, right? But wait, that's not all. Facebook Messenger has also given into March Madness, and now you can play their addictive basketball game through their Messenger application. Apparently, all you have to do is send a basketball emoji to a friend and it starts the game for you. At 20 points, the game speeds up, and so on. So if you're really in the blue about all this basketball business, we found a way to distract you from the pain. You're welcome. The new docu-film, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story, is the new rave TV show on Fox. But some praise is rather surprising. The real Marcia Clark has come out to congratulate and give thanks to actress Sarah Paulson on her performance portraying, well, herself. Clark said she feared reliving the trial and the media attention when the show first aired, but she loves Paulson's performance. From American Horror Story to murder trials, seems like Paulson's really found her fit in Hollywood. Meghan Trainor is back at it with those not-so-innocent clothes. That's right. The song's just known for singing cute and innocent songs like Dear Future Husband and Lips Are Movin'. Just came out with a very unlike her music video for her new single, No. While the choice of dress and dance is a little bit juicy for her, I personally find the song very different from her others. Unlike the Dumb Husband song where she gives into gender stereotypes, this song is a very strong message about consent and how saying no is okay. Well, kudos to her. Maybe I'll actually listen to her songs now. No, probably not. Ever just have a strong craving for Slurpees but don't feel like slurping it down? Well, now you have the option to eat it instead. That's right. Your favorite gas station, 7-Eleven, has come out with a Slurpee flavored donut featuring pink sugary icing and cherry cake inside. No more brain freezes, just a sugar coma. But hey, everything good comes with trade-offs. Well, that does it for entertainment, but you want to know what grinds my gears? Sorry, Anthony, it's the weather. Because I'll wear boots one day, and then I'll wear flip-flops, and then I'll wear boots, and my closet's a mess, and it's really annoying, and it is the weather's fault. Okay, so that's it.
First of all, I want to gloat. I don't get brain freezes, which is really wonderful. I literally don't know what they feel like. I just don't get them. Another thing that I want to say about Anna and her grinds her gears thing tonight. The weather is something that no one can control, and it is beautiful that no one can. It is so interesting how weather patterns develop and how weather patterns have this crazy amount of changes. I love that weather does that. I almost became a meteorologist because I love how much weather changes. I would hate to live in Florida where it's sunny and 77 every day. I love living in Nebraska, and my dad loves being a forecaster here because everything changes so frequently. So Anna, no. The weather is not to blame. The weather is beautiful, and it is amazing, and I love it. Kenny?
You know what really grinds my gears? Suits. Fellas. I'm sorry. Okay, look. If you're gonna wear a light-colored suit, a neutral-colored suit, you're not supposed to wear dark colors under that suit, okay? I'm trying to tell you, it's in GQ. Go look it up, all right? Your socks are not supposed to match your suit, okay? It really just grinds my gears when I see that happening, okay? You don't wear black socks with brown shoes. You don't do it, man.
What do you wear, Kenny?
Any other color. You can wear blue. You're supposed to draw attention to your feet. If your shoes aren't black, your socks aren't black either. It's a travesty, and it needs to stop. Also, when you stand up and you're wearing a suit, you button the top button, okay? You do not walk around with it open, because it's just not professional, all right?
That's right. You paid $100 plus for that suit.
Exactly.
Wear it correctly.
Exactly. You know what? That does it. So, I'm Kenny Benradi.
And I'm Anthony Anderson for a very emotional DC TV tonight. Have a great week. Take care.